Bob and Ray, I think, were his favorites. And, of course, Bob and Ray had the same dry sense of humor as Bob Newhart.
All right, sir, would you tell me, what do you think of Perry Como?
What is this you got in your hand there?
This is a microphone. What do you think of Perry Como?
What do I get if I answer that question?
Nothing. What do you think of Perry Como?
Well, no prizes or anything?
Nothing. Now, what do you think of Perry Como?
Nothing.
You ever watch the Perry Como show?
Well, do they give anything away?
No.
Then I don't watch it.
I met Ed Gallagher, and then we came up with the idea of the radio show. We were a poor man's Bob and Ray, really.
How do you do, sir?
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do? May we have your name, sir?
Yes, my name is Dr. Arnold Carruthers.
Arnold Carruthers. Dr. Arnold Carruthers.
That's right.
I see. Are you a medical doctor?
Yes, I'm a physician and surgeon.
And surgeon, I see. It's awfully early in the morning for you to be out, Doctor. Where are you headed?
Well, normally I would be going to the office about this time. It so happened last night I got a call about 10:30 from one of my patients at an emergency appendectomy, and I had to get down to the hospital. I got down there about 11 o'clock, and we had the patient on the operating table around around 11:30, and then I opened the patient.
Got right to work, is that right, Doctor?
Naturally, and around 12 o'clock, opened the patient up, and we ran into complications, and it was a very difficult operation, and, well, the patient, as you can see, was on the table for pretty close to...
Quite a long while, right?
Well, as I say, we opened the patient up at 12, and I closed the patient up at... I'm sure I closed the patient.
And I didn't, even though Ed and I were friends, I didn't think Ed was that good, but I thought this Bob Newhart was hilariously funny.
There was a comedian appearing in Chicago, and I had really nothing at all going on, and nothing on the horizon. And so I said, okay, well then I'll be a writer. I'll just write comedy. And I went to him and tried to sell him The Submarine Commander. And he said, well, that's very nice. It's funny, but I don't think it fits me. So I said, okay. So he said, but if you come up with any other stuff, let me know. Here's my address. And about 2 weeks later, I was watching the Steve Allen show, and I see this guy, who shall remain nameless, doing The Submarine Commander. And I figured, well, if they're going to steal it, I guess you're better off doing it yourself. So, I mean, I'm indebted to him because he kind of pushed me into doing stand-up.
To capitalize on the success of the Jack Parr Show, the local NBC station hired Chicago DJ Dan Sorkin to host a late-night variety show. Dan quickly thought of his funny friend, Bob Newhart.
Bob called me and wanted me to come to the first performance. So we went with him to his first performance on the Dan Sorkin Show, and sure enough, they called him out of the audience, and he did his little skit.
He was a man who used to appear out of the audience, and most of the time the audience really thought he was a member of the audience. He would come up with all these crazy remarks and observations and so on.
The show lasted 4 weeks. And our director said if you put your head outside at 12 o'clock, you could hear an audible click. Everyone turning off their television sets in Chicago.
It was probably on twice. But Bob did his routines on the show, and if it wasn't for Bob's routines on the show, there wouldn't have been 2 shows.
Though Bob's first television exposure was less than successful, his luck soon turned when he was asked to be the entertainment at the local Chicago Emmy Awards.
We went to Newhart, who was hanging around, you know, at the office doing stuff. He says, can you do something like write something to do with press agent?
Hi, sweetheart. How's everything, kid? How's Gettysburg, baby? Sort of a drag, huh? Well, you know them small Pennsylvania towns, Abe. Seen one, you've seen them all. Right. Listen, Abe, I got your note. What's the problem? You're thinking of what? You're thinking of shaving it off. Abe, you're kidding me, aren't you? Huh? You're pulling Neil's leg, aren't you, huh? No. Abe, don't you see it's part of the image? Right, with a shawl and the stovepipe hat. Don't you see that? You don't have the shawl. Where's the shawl, Abe? You left it in Washington. What are you wearing, Abe? A sort of cardigan?
And it was so brilliant. It's just, I mean, the paper the next day, it went crazy. And he became a success that night.
Biography. In 1959, Bob Newhart was gaining recognition around Chicago as being a funny guy. Playboy's Penthouse would give him his first national exposure.
You and I go to work. Everyone here, we go to work in the morning. And it's fairly routine. We get home at night, and we do it almost mechanically. But there are a group of men that go to work every day, and they never know if that night they'll return home, because they face death in 100 different ways. Really. And, of course, I'm talking about America's driving instructors.
Pretty dangerous occupation.
Exactly, but they haven't done a series on it, you see, and I think that it would make a beautiful documentary. And if I'd like to show you I'd like to recreate for you my one episode from the new documentary called The Driving Instructor. Now this is, if you imagine, this is a car, and I'm the instructor, and this is my file, and seated next to me is a woman driver.
I remember the first time I was driving the car when I heard the driving instructor, and I had to pull over because I was screaming, you know.
How do you do? You're Mrs. Webb. Is that right? I see you've had one lesson already. And who was the instructor on that? Mr. Adams. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is, Mr. Adams. Just let me read ahead, would you, to kind of brief myself? How fast were you going when Mr. Adams jumped from the car? 75? Did you say 75? And where was that? In your driveway. How far had Mr. Adams gotten in the lesson? Backing out?
Chicago DJ Dan Sorkin gave a couple of Warner Brothers record executives a tape of Bob's routines. They quickly realized what a unique talent he was and signed him to a recording contract.
I said, next time Bob appears before an audience, let me know. I'll record him live with an engineer on location, because the interplay with the audience will really make a much better recording than a studio recording. So dead silence, they're looking at each other. I said, what's wrong?
And I said, well, see, there's a problem there. I've never played a nightclub. And they said, well, then we'll have to get you into nightclubs.
Well, 5 months went by, no takers. Everybody said, oh, well, it's kind of off the wall, and Shelley Berman has done the telephone bit. And I said, yeah, but this is different, this is different.
So they got me into the Tidelands in Houston, Texas. And so after 2 weeks, they came down and recorded it. And that was kind of how I got the first album.
He thought there would be 10 or 15 friends who might buy it, or he'd have to give them away, and that would be that.
So I called up Warner Bros. And I said, when is he, some of my friends are asking, when is the album coming out?
How many couples, Mr. Doubleday? 18 people. That's an awful lot of people, Mr. Doubleday. Well, see, the ideal game, you know, is 2, 3 couples come over the house and they get a little smash, and then you can't play it in the house either, huh? Gee, you got 2 things against you right there, Mr. Doubleday, you see.
The album had just broken, just taken off, and so every night there were like these celebrities. I mean, these people that I'd only seen on screen, they were in the audience, you know. Jack was a big fan, and once he told me if he's ever in my audience, I should finish the routine I'm doing and then do Abe Lincoln, because that was his favorite. So I happened to be at the Palmer House in Chicago, and Jack was coming in. And I finished the routine I was doing and then did Abe Lincoln. And he came backstage afterwards, and he said, you left this out, you left that out, you left this out, you left that out. And he was right, I had.
Not only did Bob's album sell millions of copies, it was awarded 2 Grammys. All of this happened while Bob still lived at home with his parents.
It was staggering in that it was very exciting for us to see because it was like a skyrocket.
For it. And he'd express the gratuity all the time. It was never one of these, I think I'll buy a Porsche today. And where are those Afghan hounds? Where do they store those? He probably did get a better golf club.
I figured, well, okay, if it doesn't last that long, it doesn't last that long. But I had a good time. You know?
You're watching Bob Newhart on Biography.
Hello, Bob Newhart here. Who? Perry Como. Well, hi, Perry. Well, thank you for calling. Well, it's going just fine so far, Per. I mean, there isn't, you know, too much can go wrong with the show in the first 10 seconds. Pretty much up to the peacock, you know.
In 1961, due to the success of Bob's comedy albums, all 3 major television networks courted him. Bob accepted NBC's offer to host a half-hour comedy variety show and moved to California.
Live from Hollywood, it's the Bob Newhart Show. And here's Bob.
Because I had gotten this Warner Brothers contract, he had insisted that I'd be the announcer on the show. And I didn't find out until much later that there was a lot of opposition to that they wanted a known NBC network announcer.
There are 3 reasons why everyone should chew Beech Nut gum.
Man, is that your car out there?
Number 1, it's the easiest gum to chew.
Some guy's using a wrench on your door handle, and I think he's trying to break in.
Number 2, Beech Nut has a flavor that lingers on and on.
Oh, he won't get in. The door handle broke off.
And 3, Beech Nut gives you the biggest variety of flavors of any chewing gum. Look, right here, the happiest peppermint.
Uh-oh, now he's using a sledgehammer.
The new spirited spearmint.
Well, they sure make those new windshield stuff, don't they?
Right. With 5 different fruit flavors.
Oh, that roof's pretty soft, though, isn't it?
Delicious fruit gum.
Oh, well, he's not stealing your car, or why would he be slashing your tires like that?
And candy-coated Beachies.
Uh-oh, there goes the license plate.
Yes, Beech Nut has a flavor of gum for everyone.
Get away from my car!
While the cameras were rolling, it was marvelous. It was really fun, because everybody involved with the show was really truly involved with the show. But then there would be the carrion just off camera from the executive suites, arguing about, well, why is he doing that? And who gave him permission to do that? And how long are we going to put up with this? And that sort of thing happened every week.
Sitting Bull? Yeah? I'm General Custer.
If I were you, I wouldn't boast about that, fella. This guy's getting clobbered down there. My boy's sure up for this rumble.
I know, SB. I know that, but... You see, I came in to tell you you're making a big mistake. If you guys had any brains at all, you'd lose. Lose? Lose.
Well, look, Custer, I'm willing to save a few points, maybe. Make it close. Well, I ain't about to blow the whole war, Daddy, or something like that.
I wasn't very good in sketches, and the producer and I weren't getting along. They would write a monologue, and then I'd take it on and write my own way of saying it. And the producer became upset.